When it comes to people movers, the big vans, such as the Toyota Hi-Ace, have always been a staple of Philippine roads. But if you want something a little bit more on the premium side of things, something a little bit more manageable on a daily drive, then once upon a time you could have gotten the Toyota Previa or the Honda Odyssey and the Kia Carnival, as well as the Chrysler Town & Country. But those days are gone, with the exception of the Kia Carnival. Well, good thing Hyundai Philippines has come out with yet another option for us in this segment. This is the 2024 Hyundai Custin in the top premium trim. And this might just be the best premium minivan that has ever graced our Philippine shores. Now, before anything else, let's talk about the size as well as the design of the Hyundai Custin. So from the outside, it looks really good. Color first, Aurora Blue Pearl. Excellent, especially when under direct sunlight. This front grille, they call this the parametric diamond pattern grille, and it looks really good. This is about what you would get with the likes of the Hyundai Stargazer 2 or even the Hyundai Creta. And just like the Hyundai Creta, over at the side of the grills, there are lights too integrated into it. LED headlamps, pretty bright, really good, and Custin spelled out for you, very similar to what you'd find in the likes of the Ford Explorer. Now, on the side of this vehicle, you can really tell that Hyundai didn't just make a minivan for the sake of making a minivan that is pretty spacious and with good dimensions. They actually spent a lot on the design department. Look at these front fenders right here. There's some sort of a dip to it, but there, over at the rear fenders, there's even a bit more. The door handles too, there's like a diamond pattern to it, aesthetically pleasing really, and lots of lines too by the doors. Now, speaking of these like aesthetic things, your rims, they look pretty good too. 18 inches big, wrapped in Nexen N Priz tires. Now, for the size of this car, yes, it is about the same size as what you would get with the Toyota Previa or the Asian spec Honda Odyssey, which arguably is about the best size for something that is both good to be chauffeured around in, as well as to be owner-driven when the need arises. For the rear, it looks pretty sleek too. You have Hyundai spelled out for you, you have a Custin badge, you have a 1.5T badge, which denotes its engine displacement, as well as T for turbo. We'll talk about that later. You have a nice light bar running the entire width of this rear end, and Subaru-esque crab claw C-shaped lights too. Over at the top, there is a spoiler, just a little bit, and a high mount stoplight. Now, open up this power tailgate. It is only powered for this premium trim, and what you'll see is you still have a little bit of space to put some cargo, but it really isn't the biggest out there. However, if you will not really carry 7 people, you can easily fold down these seats 60-40, and by doing that, well, just look how much space you have in here. Now, when the likes of the Toyota Previa still roamed our roads, they were powered by a pretty big engine, a 2.4-liter gasoline engine. But since we're here now in modern times, you don't really need an engine that big. What we have here instead is a 1.5-liter turbocharged gasoline engine, making 170 horsepower and 253 Newton-meters of torque paired to an 8-speed automatic. And what this smaller engine does is give you about the same amounts of power without the abysmal fuel economy. Not gonna lie, this still isn't the best when it comes to fuel economy. You only do around 6.5 kilometers per liter in heavy city traffic and about 14.8 kilometers per liter on the highway. But still, can you imagine if they put an even bigger engine here? I don't think Greta Thunberg will be pretty happy. Moving inside interior now and check the door thud. Sounds pretty okay. Now, Hyundai had to cut costs somewhere. So they didn't really want to cut costs when it comes to the aesthetics of the cabin, but they had to cut costs with the material. So for example, this dashboard of yours, that is covered in pretty supple leather. It's pretty soft, really, as well as the center armrest. But here on the side, while it looks pretty good, there are some hard touch plastics and there is some leatherette, but it is pretty thin. But still, can't really complain. It still is pretty good overall. This steering wheel feels very solid. There's stitching on it. There's buttons for your advanced driver assistance systems as well as your audio controls. Unfortunately, it only tilts and it doesn't telescope, which can make finding your perfect driving position a little bit hard at times. Your instrument cluster too, this is the first time I've ever seen this in any car. It's this like horizontal tiny thing, but it still is pretty okay to read. The numbers themselves, they are just right there in your face. There is a small 4.2-inch screen there by the center which displays your trip computer. But now moving on towards the center, and I really love this screen. It's a 10.4-inch portrait screen, which admittedly is a little bit hard to use at first, but it is so responsive and it comes with a lot of cool features. For example, you get Apple CarPlay, you get a surround view monitor, as well as this angle which shows you the curb really well when you are parking your vehicle. And there's even something called the driver talk. So by simply pressing it, there's a microphone somewhere in here that amplifies my voice to the rear passengers. That way I don't really have to scream for them to hear me, and vice versa. There's a microphone for them to over there which will play and pump out their voices on the speakers for me to hear. And there's also this additional speedometer here, and I call this the backseat driver pacifier. You see, when my grandfather was still living, and right now, even if I have my dad, for example, as my passenger, for some reason, there's always two drivers in the car. It's always me and them. They really want to backseat drive. They tell me, yo, it's a small street, drive slowly. Even though I'm only going like 20 or 30 kilometers per hour, but it feels fast for them. Well, they can stare at this, and this will pacify them. It will tell them, don't worry, Cal's only doing 30 kilometers per hour. Anyway, that aside, there's also some other cool features in here, which we will show you later. It has something to do with your premium relaxation seats there at the back. Now, that aside, this center console, it's very clean because you don't have a physical shifter that looks like a stick. You just have push button shifting, and you even have a sunroof on the top plus 6 airbags. Okay, so entering the Hyundai Kastén from the rear is super easy because it is pretty low. So your angkong ama, your lolo lola, they will have a super easy time of entering in here. They just kind of have to slide their butt in like this. And if you notice too, this door, not only is it sliding, but it is also powered, and this is exclusive to this premium trim. If you get the base model Kastén, you'll only have power doors there on the passenger side. Anyway, now that I am back here, space is just really, really good, and so are amenities, because I have my own tray table, and it even comes with a cup holder on the side. I have my privacy shade on the side. I have a big sunroof on top. I have my own air vents. I have cooled seats. I get USB ports, and I even get a rear wireless charger in addition to the one I forgot to mention earlier, the wireless charger in front. And so far, this is one of the very few cars I've seen with the wireless charger at the back. So this car really has the passengers in mind. And these seats too, they're power adjustable, at least for this premium trim, and they go on multiple ways. Not only is it power recline, there's even a powered ottoman, and there's even a power movement side to side. Now you're gonna ask me, why does it move side to side? That's for your recline, to clear the wheel well at the back. So that is pretty clever. And these seats too, they have a premium relaxation mode, but we'll get to that later once we get to the riding segment. Anyway, now let's move on over to the third row of seats, and you probably might not see me much here, but all I can tell you is, for as long as these seats are not moved all the way back and not reclined in any way, space is actually pretty decent. I still get around an inch or so of leg room back here, and seating a third person here by the middle is also very much doable. In addition to that, I have my own air vents right here. I have my own map lights, and yeah, even the headrest, even the center headrest, those all move, so you are all set to go. So now we ride the Hyundai Kastén Premium. And remember how I said that there's the premium relaxation seats in this van? Well, I'm right there. I'm in the best seat in the house, the rear right seat. Now, there's a couple of ways of setting the most relaxing position in here. I have a couple of buttons here by my side. I also have the regular power seat buttons over here near the door, but another way to do it is to simply ask my chauffeur to do it for me. So, chauffeur, please put me in my sleep mode. So he'll just press a button there by the infotainment screen. This front passenger seat moves forwards and away from me. My seat moves inwards towards the center of the vehicle, and it puts me in a zero gravity position, reclines me, and raises up my ottoman. And in this position, it's about as good as it can ever get. However, there's an issue now. You see these armrests right here? They're in an awkward position for my arms, but Hyundai has thought about that too. Simply press that round button there by the front part of it on both sides, and you can simply move it down just like that, which puts your arm at the great angle now. And remember also how I said that there's no top air vents here by the second row? Well, remember, the third row people, they have it. So in this premium relaxation position, I just have to reach out a little bit behind me over here at the side, and I can now adjust the airspeed of the vents for the third row passengers that are now pointed directly at my face. They really thought about everything here. It's perfect. Also, if I'm back here and I want to sleep, I can simply close up this big sunroof of mine. I can also raise up this sunshade over at the side and call it a night. But if I want to be rejuvenized, put that down and open the sunroof. It really is very relaxing. Oh, also, the suspension of the Custom, especially here at the back, it feels super soft. Now, it feels a little bit different when you're driving it, but yeah, stay tuned for that. Now let's drive the Hyundai Custom. Being that the Hyundai Custom Premium isn't exactly a luxury MPV, it's more on the premium segment of things, I'm pretty sure that most buyers, yes, they will usually be chauffeured around at the back, but they will also occasionally drive their vehicle. So the driving experience is also pretty important. Anyway, let's talk about that now. First of all, your power. It is pretty good. 170 horsepower, can't really ask for more. It's decently responsive. Even the transmission, it picks your right gear for you at any point in time. The only thing that you kind of have to watch out for are the drive modes, because you have Smart, Eco, Comfort, and Sport. Both a Smart mode as well as Sport mode, it could get a little bit too jerky even for your liking as a driver, and especially for your VIP, I'm pretty sure that he's gonna complain about all that jerkiness. So as long as you keep this car in like Sport mode or Eco mode, you're gonna be perfectly fine. Overtaking is easy. Getting ahead of everyone else is pretty easy. Again, the power is definitely more than enough. I would even dare say that it's a little bit on the powerful side in terms of feel. Next would be your noise, vibration, and harshness. And this car, in terms of noise, it's excellent. You don't really hear too much of the outside world in here. The only thing you would ever really hear would be your fan speed as well as the cooled seats there at the back, because the AC system, usually in a lot of the cars in this segment, you know, you can just put it in like fan speed 2 and you can call it a day. But for this one, I find that you kind of have to put it at around fan speed 4 or 5 just to be able to properly cool this big cabin. But yeah, don't worry, as long as you put it there, it will be able to cool the cabin, even if this test unit doesn't have any tint on it. Vibrations wise, it's also pretty smooth in here. Even though it's a small 1.5 liter engine, yeah, you barely feel any vibrations even at idle. And for harshness, I really like it too, because this is what an MPV is supposed to be. It's super cushy in here. I mean, you barely feel any bumps. Everything is just softened out. So for your daily trips here on EDSA, even on C5, you're gonna be absolutely fine. Now, there is a little bit of a downside to that super cushy feel though, and that's where your shocks are a little bit too soft too. So if the roads really do get a little uneven, you can feel some sort of a side-to-side wallow. It's like a boat effect. Yeah, it's not the most pleasant in the world, but as long as you don't drive too fast, you're gonna be absolutely fine, as well as your VIP at the back. Finally, I want to talk about the advanced driver assistance systems that you do have in here, and they are pretty excellent. First of all, you do not get adaptive cruise control. Yes, that is a bummer. However, you do get pretty much everything else. You have a speed limit assist, you do have rear cross traffic alert, you have blind spot warning, you have autonomous emergency braking, and most importantly, you have lane keeping assist and lane centering assist, that type of system. And most cars, they do pretty excellently in terms of the lane keeping assist when you are on the highway, when you're going pretty fast. But this one, it works in crawling city speeds. And you know how most of these vehicles, you do have to kind of like keep your hands on the steering wheel once in a while for highway speeds? Yes, for highway speeds, it does the same. But for low city speeds, the car lets you completely take off your hands from the steering wheel as long as you're in creeping speed, and yes, it will follow the lanes. It's excellent. Since it doesn't have adaptive cruise control, you do have to control your brakes and your throttle, but honestly, you can pretty much just like kind of let go of the wheel. It really is good. This is so far the first car I've seen with this combination. No ACC, but with that lane centering thing in slow city speeds. Excellent, really. This is truly all you will ever need. It's super comfortable, it's so tech-filled, and the engine is also pretty powerful. The Hyundai Custom simply is the perfect minivan that the Toyota Previa and the Honda Odyssey should have always been. And on a side note too, its pricing. This one costs 2,080,000 pesos, considerably cheaper compared to those other two minivans I've mentioned years ago, pre-inflation. So when it comes to value for money, this is just hard to beat. And this is simply the best premium, not luxury, premium minivan that has truly ever graced our Philippine shores.